On today's show, China sends a spy balloon through U.S. airspace.
And why do we care? Because it's a spy balloon from China.
Welcome to Never Too Serious with Scott and Dave. I'm Scott.
And I'm Dave.
All right, Dave, we had some spy balloon.
Yeah, we had some interesting things going on in the skies. UFOs for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they discovered what it was.
That's true. Yeah. So in case you guys are under a rock and have not heard the news, China sent over a spy balloon. So the initial reports came in. There was a guy named Chase Doak, and I listened to an interview on the Glenn Beck program that he gave. He is a former news person. I think he worked for a newspaper in Montana, in I want to say Billings or something. But anyway, he was looking out his office window and saw this object in the sky, and so he was kind of curious and decided he was going to take a picture. But picture wasn't very good with whatever device he was using. He wasn't sure what it was. He thought just, this is potentially a UFO. He calls up his buddy, Larry Mayer, who actually works at the newspaper that he used to work at, and he's a photographer over there.
Oh.
And so he was able to get a much bigger lens and take some pictures. And between those guys, they had the first photos of this object in the sky.
Wow.
And they're, again, in Montana. So initially, this balloon came through Alaska and down through Canada, and then hit, I think, the tip of Idaho, and then into Montana, and then sort of began to continue to drift across the United States.
Wow.
And what cracks me up is that this was not news until it reached Montana, and there were some civilians who saw it with their own eyes.
Because they have big sky up there.
It is
they
big
have
sky
better
country.
capabilities of seeing such things. So I have a couple questions because, of course, I'm only partially under a rock these days, so I've heard about it, but I didn't get to get a lot of detail about it. So for them to do you have any details that you could share about how far up it was or anything like that?
Yeah, so they weren't entirely sure at first, but at different stages of its flight, they were estimating between 65,000 feet and 100,000 feet.
So that is
it's way up there. Yeah, if you think commercial travel, is that 50? At the
30, 50, yeah.
30 to 50?
Yeah.
Depending on how far away you're flying, I guess.
So kind of funny that they haven't picked that up on the radar or anything. So my other question is, I don't know if you've picked up on, and other people might want to know, is if it is that high up, because that's outrageously high up, it is. How big of a balloon is that for them to be able to see it with his naked eye? So, I mean, that's got to be it's way bigger than I think it is.
Yeah, so they said that it was about 200 feet tall. So it's a big balloon. If it's 200 feet tall, that's a big balloon. And it was carrying a payload that was, I think they said it was potentially up to a couple thousand pounds. And
wow, that is serious then. Because, mind you, from the pictures that we see, I think it could almost make it seem like it's more of 20 feet across.
Yeah.
It looks like a small little balloon. Does not look huge.
Well, but it was so incredibly high. It's hard to determine elevation when you're talking about a balloon that you don't know the size of.
Yeah, it would have to be huge because that's what I was curious, because you're the one that was telling me about how high up it was. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if they saw that, then how big is this thing? Because they don't have a dollar bill next to it to give us some size perspective. But okay, that explains a lot of things. That also explains to me now why I could hear a lot of theories that of what it's doing. Because before I was like, well, it might be able to do a couple of things here and there, but if you don't have that kind of capabilities, like you said, that it could haul 2,000 pounds ish. That's
so the initial,
that's a lot of things.
Well, yeah, and if you see the picture, I'll put up a picture here, but you look at the picture, it's a pretty good size round object, but then there's this dark stuff that's kind of hanging below it. And if you look close enough, it looks like what you would see on a satellite
Yeah, that's like like solar panels or something.
Exactly, big old solar panels up there, and
that's probably what makes it operate and move. So that's what I think.
Yeah, they said that at least from the early reports, it said that there was like some sort of steering mechanism and propeller.
Like it wasn't just going with the wind currents up there. It was actually like going places.
Yeah. Now, I'm guessing that there's not going to be a whole lot of maneuverability, even with a propeller on there, because you get it up at those sort of altitudes, and the winds are completely crazy.
Yeah,
you can get a couple 100-mile-an-hour winds through that jet stream up there, and so it's going to naturally drift from west to east, but it can move still along with that in different areas, and depending on what the wind conditions are up there. Like over Montana, it was far enough above the jet stream that it was sort of staying in place. And that's one of the reasons why it caught these people's eyes, because it seemed like an object that was just kind of sitting up there. Kind of odd.
Yeah. Wow.
But they had, because it moved through Alaska, and NORAD, what's their acronym stand for? North American Aerospace Defense Command. These are the folks that monitor our airspace, and they detected it before it was into Alaska.
So that's kind of my point I brought up before, is that nobody seemed like they would do anything about it until a civilian seen it, and they started blowing up social media.
Yeah.
Other than that, people are, because to me it would blow my mind that, you kidding me, like nobody knows that's up there, that should know what's up there, and they're letting it be up there. If they think that it's a spy, which, if they allow it to be called a spy balloon, maybe it's not. Maybe it was something way worse, and that's why they're letting it go. But okay, worse, as bad as it is, a spy balloon. Everybody's asking, why did you let it run its course? I mean, yeah.
Well, so
its course meaning once it touches the United States, borders, and then once it leaves, that's its course, in my opinion. Yeah. That's all I care about.
Well, just from being over Alaska, I go, why? So let me back up. Some of the reports were saying that the reason that they didn't shoot it down when people discovered it over Montana is because they didn't know where the debris might end up, and they didn't want to have potential harm to civilians or buildings or other air. But Montana, they had already grounded all the flights in that area, so that wasn't going to be one of the things. But if you're concerned about debris coming down from something like that, and you knew about it way back in Alaska, I mean, yes, Montana is not heavily populated, so you could safely probably take that thing down in Montana and not worry about it hitting anyone. But in Alaska, oh my gosh, you could walk for days and days and not see anyone.
I was going to tell you the two states, if you had to take something down and have minimal casualties, if any at all, it would be Alaska and then Montana. But they chose no, we're going to just let it go, see what happens.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I just think that I don't trust government already, but this is
They're the same human beings that run the Taco Bell. I mean, we're all human beings. We have the same genetics, same crap that's running through our veins.
Yeah.
This is going to be idiots. They're all idiots. We're all,
We're just kind of believing what they say.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And you just hope that they're for at least weighing on our favor, because they're looking out for us. But yeah, it's a concerning thing for a lot of Americans. It's unfortunate that the young kids don't really remember too much, but 9/11 wasn't too far away ago. To me, it's in my head all the time. It hasn't dissolved much, and there's been a lot of things that has happened since then. A lot of terrorist things, a lot of disgusting, horrible I'll just leave it at terrorist things that has been going on throughout the world since then. And everybody's kind of on edge. And last thing we need to know is like somebody's plotting on us. We already know that they are, but this here is infiltrating our space. And I don't like that. I want to make sure that our people that we are supposed to trust isn't going to let this crap infiltrate. I don't know what it's carrying. You're supposed to care about us And if you know more about it, then you let it go because it's nothing you already know.
Mm-hmm.
Then freaking let us know, because that's what you were working for. Bulletin, what you see up there, it's not what you think. It's all under control. What? At least something.
Well, and in the news, a lot of folks were complaining about it continuing to pass over the United States. Eventually, they did shoot it down just off the coast of one of the Carolinas. And,
is that right? It's funny you said that, because I heard that it was actually out of our, on the other side of our borders, essentially.
Yeah.
Out of our airspace or whatever.
Yeah. So there's like, I don't know.
And why would they wait till then?
I'm not sure how much we respect these international treaties, but there's evidently about a 12-mile.
You talking about China?
Well,
not at all.
We don't have any with China.
Yeah.
But I guess there's like a 12-mile range off our coast where it becomes sort of international waters. And so they felt like, or this is the reports, is that they needed to take that thing down before it reached past that 12-mile range. I don't know how true that is. That seems a little ridiculous when the United States is like the superpower in the world. But whatever. They took it out with an F-22 Raptor, sent off a missile and popped the balloon.
What the hell do you need a missile for?
I know. Isn't that an expensive way?
Wouldn't it just been a little?
Yeah, I know.
Done. I mean, it is a balloon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You might even just zip right past it real fast.
Well, and they said it was
it up.
They said it was made of filled with helium. So
they just want to see a big boom. Who cares if it costs $3 million?
Well, yeah, maybe
it's our tax money.
I mean,
these are outrageous.
It was pretty obvious. There's video here of the missile launching and taking out the balloon, and you can hear the commentary of the people who are taking the video and, oh, America, that sort of thing. But in hindsight, I think about what an expensive way to take down a balloon that reports say was like a $10,000 balloon.
I mean, after Biden gave away all of our crap, don't we want to hang on to a few things?
That might be beside the point, Dave. But so they took this thing down. They said they didn't want to, take it out over populated areas or the United States because of the population. But then you think about, they take it out and it falls into the ocean, which not everything's going to float, and it's salt water. Why would you? I've seen plane crashes, like the results of them, and they can collect a lot of stuff when it's over land. Yeah. When it's in the water, especially when there's a lot of electrical components, technology.
You have very little time to collect everything.
Yeah. So why would you do that? That doesn't make sense to me.
So, okay. So I was trying not to go here number one, and I didn't. Good for me. But my number one thought is that, because I do go conspiracy theory kind of stuff, because I don't know why. I always think the worst when it comes to this kind of stuff is there was some crap up there, and guess why would they not just go shoot it down? It's because they want to blow it all up. You can't see. There's nothing to see. You can't tell what it was. Nobody's going to know what it was or what its intention was. Sure, they might know, but we don't get to know anything. Or we are. It sucks, but I wish people would understand that we don't get to know anything.
Yeah,
we're not worthy of knowing anything. They'll let us know. We didn't let you. We didn't want you to panic. Well, you know what? How about we're big? Well, I can't say it anymore. We used to be big boys and girls, but. Let us panic. Let us be our own selves. I want to know what the hell's going on.
Did you see the pictures of? I want to say it was the Navy that were recovering the parts from the balloon.
No, I did not.
So that's a picture of some of the wreckage.
All right.
From the balloon.
And they have it's a rather, for a raft, it's big, but that's a rather small boat. Looks like about 14-foot boat.
Yeah, but you can see the destroyer is hiding behind it on some of these pictures.
But my point is they could reel it all in on that little boat. But looks like they contained most of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know entirely what all this stuff is made out of.
But missile kind of sucks.
But here's the thing is that I just kind of look at it and I go, well, this is very convenient to have, normally you wouldn't have people taking photos of something that would be like this. It would be,
especially when they didn't give a damn the whole time, right?
Yeah.
They didn't care.
But they're showing these pictures of a little bit of the structure of the balloon where, you can see there's some, I don't know if it's aluminum or what the structural stuff is that they're bringing in. But, I mean, if you've ever had one of those quick shade tents that got caught up in the wind and it got bent all up, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But you know what it doesn't look like? It doesn't look like a missile hit it.
Yeah.
Look how white and perfect that is. You said it was helium. You said a missile hit it.
Yeah.
Where's the singe? Where's the black and the char?
I don't think helium is flammable. Like, what was the Hindenburg made out of? Hydrogen?
Helium.
No, the Hindenburg. Oh, the humanity. Was too soon, Dave.
But I don't care. I don't care if that missile hit drywall. It should have blown up, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like it's pretty shredded up. But again,
I don't care. It fell out of the sky from 100,000 feet. I'm just saying, it doesn't look, to me, it looks like you mentioned, it looks like one of my freaking shade tents that got blown around in the backyard.
Yeah.
Not that it fell 100,000 feet.
I'm just, in this modern, relatively modern day here, we've got all this technology. We've got this stealth fighter F-22 that's going up there and launching a missile. Isn't there any technology that we could bring that balloon down and not have it destroyed?
Well, it's funny. I didn't realize how far up it was because there was a couple of ideas I had. But when we're talking that high up, I think our options are now really getting limited. Now, I will say, I've seen these really nifty blue lasers that you could buy. Imagine we could have got that guy that saw it. He could probably popped it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they want to grapple hook that thing and try to tow it. Because again, if it's 200 feet, that's a lot of drag.
It is. But if you're...
You don't want to be pulling that thing going 600 miles an hour either.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there would be some method of setting off something that would at least pop the balloon enough where it creates enough drag that it acts like a crappy parachute, so that it comes down without so much velocity.
Right. If you would. Outside of a missile, literally, I think that if they were wanting to keep the most of it and actually shoot it down over Montana safely and monitor it, if they wanted to, is use a few rounds, shoot some bullet holes in it. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to leak its fuel. It's going to
descend.
And it's going to slowly come down as gently as one could.
There may have been just a show of force, just for image sake, but...
They already lack that, just not acting in the first place. But yeah, I understand that. We were talking about planes when they hit the ground in the water. A lot of this stuff could sink before you could get out there. And so I do know that when you see those pictures and we see that there's not very much stuff that's, the carriage that's left. Yes, I can see that could have been blown up and perhaps sunk to the bottom, but. If they claim that it was holding 2,000 pounds, we saw about, I'm not exaggerating, the payload we probably saw about 12 to 24 pounds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I just, look, to your point, we're missing a lot of that shit. Yes. Somewhere out there.
Yeah, not all that stuff evidently floats.
Yeah. but yeah, so I'd be really curious to know exactly what it was. Were they spying? Were they releasing something in the air? Were they... I don't know.
Okay,
brainwashing us.
So NORAD did say that that they detected this thing, that they were monitoring it. They don't have authority to do certain kinds of surveillance, but they were able to see this balloon and
then look
figure
away
out.
They're not allowed to look at it.
Right. They could investigate what this was, and so they did a fair amount of investigating. And there's some things that are very top secret as far as. What technology that they have available to know these things. But they were saying that it appears that had, the ability for it to move, to steer. But they also said it had all these other listening devices. So things to pick up, like radio signals, potentially other kind of detectors. And it kind of, that was one of the questions that I had was so why would they send a balloon over? And
it's so 1960s or 20s or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have satellites that can get pretty good detail, but the satellites don't necessarily carry the sensors that would give us the same level of detail that potentially other sensors that are closer to Earth would potentially have.
Yeah, there could be a lot of less, I don't know what they call it, but space fog, you know.
Well, they flew over some of our strategic launching sites for, where we keep our nuclear warheads.
We let's rephrase that. We allowed them to go over all of these sites. It's like, I don't know, like give them a tour. I mean, come on.
Give them a tour? Yes. They had a guy with a little microphone coming out the side of his mouth.
A little guy with some wands. Down here. Over here. But
funny. Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm being a little ridiculous, but a lot of people are essentially going, your lack of action is making us wonder why.
Yeah.
And their response was weak.
Well, and when some of the these top military officials and God, what is his name, Blinken? He comes in and he just really doesn't tell us much, and it kind of leaves up to the imagination and speculation. And so that's of course what everyone is doing. Well, I have an article here.
Yeah.
It says U.S. military reveals size of Chinese spy balloon, says it potentially carries explosives. This is the Daily Wire is reporting on it. It says U.S. Air Force General Glenn Van Herk told reporters on Monday that the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down off the coast of South Carolina over the weekend was potentially carrying explosives on board so it could self-destruct. It says the news comes after the U.S. military used an F-22 Raptor on Saturday to take out the Chinese spy balloon off the Atlantic Ocean using a single air-to-air missile. Let's see. And it fired at an altitude of right around 58,000 feet at that time. The discussion to shoot down the spy balloon came after President Joe Biden allowed it to fly thousands of miles over the continental United States. He said,
"See, I'm not just being a jerk. He did."
Yeah. Well, and they're describing here the balloon was around 200 feet tall and weighed in excess of a couple thousand pounds. So, okay, so here's the other little part, and this is what I was talking about earlier with NORAD not having much ability to intelligence gather. But Van Herk told reporters that the military normally does not have authority to gather intelligence with the United States on a day-to-day basis, but that, in this case, specific authorities were granted to collect intelligence against the balloon. It was my assessment that this balloon did not present a physical military threat to North America. That's a quote from Van Herk. This under my NORAD hat, and therefore I could not take immediate action against the balloon because it was not demonstrating hostile act. So Biden comes in and he says, "Yeah, I told those guys to shoot it down on Wednesday," and then evidently they talked him out of it. This was what he said because of concerns for safety on the ground. And so they waited until that Saturday to do it. All of it sounds very shady to me. A lot of stuff's not being said.
Sounds like a dadgum American not making decisions. Any other American would be like, "What the hell is that? Does that say made in China? Well, let's shoot it down. It'd be done before dawn."
Well, and why not do it over Alaska? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it's embarrassing.
Do you think that this was potentially just China? I mean, yes, doing some, spying, but do you think they were doing this so blatantly just to see what we would do?
It could go many, many ways. That is of course a huge deal because a lot of times, some people, when they want to do a bank robbery, they'll go in and check out some few things to see the reaction or the timing or something. I don't know how I know that, but that's just what I heard. And but this could literally be, a test run to see how we react to certain things, knowing that they have that missile that goes out in the atmosphere and
the hypersonic. Missile.
Yeah, they have that, and so think of how slow we reacted to a balloon. That thing, it would be pulverize us before we would even think about it reacting, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And having that NORAD say that, it wasn't a threat, and I get what they're saying is, didn't look like it's going to kill anybody today. But don't they know what intel does? Nobody knows where to drop a bomb until they have a map to show where to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
they just mapped out something. They did something. They had to have done. They didn't do it for no reason at all. So the questions are why. And so, yeah, scary as it could be. Yeah, let's see what they do because we were planning on this, and having it the other way too. It could be scary too. If they're trying to map us out because they have another plan. Well, and they've been threatened or accused of trying to map us out through our drones, through our rumors. What are those little carpet?
Yeah,
I forgot what they're called.
Yeah.
It
starts with an R.
Yeah, rugbies. I don't know what they're called. But anyways, they're always been known for spying on us and trying to infiltrate our everything.
They're good at
everything.
It. They're really good at it. Well, they have so much control over everything that's in their country.
Information is everything. So
we did a podcast on it, and we talked about how they get involved with other countries and create certain types of infrastructure, security, different security, equipment and other things that makes the other country provide their data to China, and which is crazy to think. But so they're really good at this whole spying thing.
Right.
Now I want to touch on one of the things you had mentioned, because as I was doing some research for this, people were talking about the idea that what if this balloon carried some sort of chemical or biological weapon?
Yeah. And
was able to just spray it out along its path.
The new COVID.
Yeah. and so initially I was like, well, that's kind of an interesting theory, but then, it's really high up there, and the winds for the jet stream are moving pretty good. So if they wanted to do something like that, they might as well launch it straight up above China and then let it drift over here.
They wouldn't. That's a good point. They wouldn't know where it would even land.
Yeah.
And then the delusion.
Yeah.
Being so diluted.
Yeah.
It would. I mean, it's not good. But how about this? But at the same time, what if that is their idea? Mm-hmm. What if they have plans for? It would be nothing to send over 20,000 of those for them.
Well, they're not very expensive. That missile was way more than the balloon was worth.
Oh. It hurts me, and it should hurt everybody else too, because we paid for that.
Yeah.
A bullet.
Unnecessary.
And bullets are outrageously expensive right now too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that what concerned me the most is when I heard this other article about the altitude for an effective EMP strike. I want to bring that article.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what an altitude is.
Okay, high altitude balloons, such as the one China has floated over mountain state military bases this week, are considered a key delivery platform for secret nuclear strikes on America's electric grid, according to the intelligence officials. Spy balloons used by Japan to drop bombs during World War II are now far more sophisticated, can fly at up to 200,000 feet, evade detection, and carry a small nuclear bomb that, if exploded in the atmosphere, would shut down the grid and wipe out electronics in many statewide areas. So they were saying that to do an effective EMP, it's got to be right around between, I think they said like 80,000 feet and 100,000 feet. And this balloon was reported at different times to be in that range.
That's so high. That is so high. So that or lower?
No, minimum.
Or it needs to be up
it
that
needs
high.
It needs to be, yeah, I think they said it needs to be at a minimum of 800,000 feet, because that...
800? 80.
80,000 feet up to 100,000 feet. And the reason that they were saying that is because of the wide...
Over.
Exactly right, yeah.
I just didn't think... So one of these things could cover such a vast range.
Yeah. Now I know that we
I shouldn't say that.
I know that we do have some protections against EMPs. We have different technology that will help shield it, but I don't know to what extent that is actually true.
If it's going to help anybody shield anything, it's not going to be you and me. It's going to be people that we don't care about. we're the ones that are going to suffer.
Mm-hmm. Just society in general, if they were to lose all electronic devices everywhere, that would be a significant burden. I mean, we would be going back to the, early 1900s as far as how society would function, and it would quickly deteriorate.
It'd be interesting how to heat my house.
Mm-hmm.
It's insulated, but I can't get any heat in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, and to think about the backups that people would normally use would be like generators. Well, generators also, in some cases, not all of them, but in some cases have systems that are dependent on like a little circuit board in order to regulate certain things on the generator in order to convert electricity to whatever. And those might be taken out in that same EMP.
So, I don't know how much you know about it, but I've heard of some things that you could do to shield yourself or things or items from EMP.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there's like things you could put your devices in because when one's coming, right? But I also heard, which I was interested in, but of course, like I always say as an excuse, I don't have time to look it up. But they were to see if it was effective, but for like $200 and something dollars, or maybe it was $500 for 2 vehicles. But you could hook up a vehicle to keep them from being affected by an EMP.
Fried. Mm-hmm.
And I'm very interested in that.
You used to have was it a Range Rover?
Land Rover.
Land Rover. What year was that?
That one was a 94.
Okay, so that one still probably had some sort of computer inside.
I'm sure it did, but man, I loved it. It was very basic.
Yeah.
I've been looking at getting a good old square body Chevy truck.
Oh yeah,
and just having
just something that runs on regular gasoline.
Yeah, but I almost can't. I'd only have to park it because I couldn't afford to even start it. It'd probably get 8 miles a gallon, and starting it up is just empty half of it.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up just really quick. EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse, and
oh yeah, I guess we didn't explain what, in case people didn't know what an EMP is.
So what happens is during a nuclear explosion, it creates this pulse, this electromagnetic pulse, and it totally fries most electronics. Anything that's using an integrated chip, a circuit board,
computer brain.
Yeah, those things. It would be like if you put a CD or a DVD or something. Are you drinking? Is that what's going on over here? It would be like if you put one of those CDs or DVDs in your microwave and you watch the little light show.
Yeah.
And it's because the material within that CD or DVD, there's a current that travels across and connects all of these things, and it fries whatever the stuff is, right? So in a circuit board, it's tiny, like the little the little things that make up the circuit board. We're talking so tiny, it doesn't really take much. In fact, just rub your feet on the carpet and shock it with your finger, and it can totally hose your circuit board.
Really?
Because it's just that sensitive. And in fact, it's funny because at my office we have a special carpet that's grounded because we work on computers and do hardware repair. And
geeks. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I never knew that.
And static is really important to remove before you touch anything. And because even if you don't destroy it in the first zap, just by doing it can weaken it enough that when you're putting a current through it when it's normally powered on, can still create a frying effect.
That's enough to finish it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
But yeah, so I mean, anyway, so with a nuclear blast, it creates an EMP, and you can have a nuclear blast without the actual mushroom cloud. You can just set off the EMP, and that, of course, is what they're so concerned about, because they say balloon is a really good delivery method for it. And for us to just let that thing fly on through.
Because what if no rad didn't know shit, and it flew on over, and it did drop something somewhere? And what if that was the moment that they were attacking us?
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't seem like anybody gave a damn about it at all.
Yeah.
I shouldn't hear it first from a civilian.
Yeah, from someone in Montana.
It's an issue. That's a situation because we really need to we need to know that we deserve better because we put people in place to keep us safe. I hate to break it to you. I don't care what side you're on. So many of those people are there for themselves, not to even worry about us.
Yeah.
So
there's a guy. Gosh, what was his name? Richard Grinnell, and he's a former acting director of the United States National Intelligence Agency. And I was listening to an interview, and he was talking about the claims that the Biden administration was making about, oh, well, these balloons have moved across into our airspace when the Trump administration was there. And this guy was appointed by Trump to be in this particular position, and he's like, no, that's not true. And then when the news organizations, because they just kind of blasted it out and just continued to perpetuate that particular, in this case, lie, and then eventually reporters started asking, well, how would you know that this happened when the Trump administration says, no, it didn't know? And then the follow-up was, well, they didn't know at the time, but now we do know. And it's like, well, then how do you know? Well,
I don't know.
They were just backtracking, trying to figure out, well, how do they get around this? And he was telling the story that he's like, yeah, people were even trying to reach out to him and said, yeah, we can give them the intelligence of how we found out. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna play in that particular playground, because what they can do is basically say, oh yeah, to the public, oh yeah, we informed the Trump administration's intelligence agency head, and so they know. But then again, it's like telling a story and not having enough people tell the truth about it, and then the lie continues for ages, and people always think that was the case.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to be a part of it. But it was interesting to listen to him talk about all the different spying that China has done, and all of the things that
they know about.
Yeah, well, that they know about. And it's funny how he said China's really good at it. And for the points that you brought up earlier, they're involved in so much stuff, so much technology that comes over to us in drone technology, in the carpet cleaner, robots. They're involved in so many other countries in setting up their own surveillance states. They buy property in the United States.
Yep. They own so much of our property and still trying to buy it.
Yep. And then the conversation about TikTok we had.
It's like they're trying to infiltrate the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, they have some pretty big plans.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be paying attention.
Yeah. Oh, so if you were the president, would you have just taken it out like right away? Not worried about the ground? So
of course I would never harm one person on our in our country, but it, like what you said, I imagine that they knew something when NORAD knew something.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been out the second. It would have been over that ocean. It wouldn't have even been a concern.
Yeah.
In fact, nobody would have even seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have bothered me too. Because I'd like to know that this kind of stuff is being tried. I would love to have such a transparent country. Sure, they might panic us at first, but we'll get numb to it. But we need to know, like, all right, they try to get us in from the northeast side. We got them. They tried us 7 times last month, but we got them down. We like, high five. Yeah, we got our back.
America.
Yeah, America, right? And instead, we don't know stuff. And we go, what do you mean? What do you mean? This happens all the time? What do you mean? What? But you let us get through. What? Should I be scared? Should I be concerned? How about let us know? Sure, we'll be concerned. But unfortunately, like Israel, they're numb to it. They've got the iron,
big wall, their dome.
Yeah, their iron dome, whatever. So people know. They have to know. You can't help but know because they see it coming in, and it's just. I think it must be pretty cool for the civilians. It might suck that they're getting attacked, but go, man, that Iron Dome is badass. High five. You got them. You got 75 missiles down. Nice. Yeah. Thank you.
So my thought is, well, number one, the Iron Dome, if no one has ever heard of that, oh my gosh, you've got to Google it. the Iron Dome is basically a missile defense system in Israel, and like when countries on the outside send rockets to land in the city, these missiles take off and take them out, meet them in the air, and destroy them before they can
Some of these
land.
are like
It's
machine
amazing.
guns and send up zillion rounds, and they just shoot them out of the sky.
It's an amazing thing to see.
And thank God it's good at it, because if they miss one, it's devastating.
Yeah.
But
I think to your point with you kind of get people used to it. I think that it gives us confidence to see our technology, our strength displayed before it gets into our country.
That's right.
Not after it leaves our country.
makes
and then
me
we're
feel
like,
pretty weak looking at that balloon. I'm telling you.
yeah, something. I don't know. You touched on it before. There was intention. We just don't know exactly what it was. But based on our response to it, I go, oh man, it doesn't make me feel good about how quick we responded to it.
Even if it was a couple of drunk guys over there in the Chinese side and like, watch this, let's just send it over. They're going to freak out. There's nothing to nothing, right? Maybe it's nothing. And maybe the airstream up there, whatever, took it just by chance past those areas.
Mm-hmm.
But even that would be just an intention of just fucking with us.
Yeah.
Or messing with us. So, it didn't get up there on purpose, on an accident. So, and I just wish I could have really known what it really was. I think that there was ways these days to really analyze it, to say this is exactly what they were doing. This was exactly their intentions, and we're gonna write a letter.
A very stern letter.
Very stern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know that I've hired them. I don't feel that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we lost about the south side of America. Now we're going to bring it up to you. Okay, everybody else run. It's like, let us know.
Yeah. Well, and
if it's nothing, let us know.
And there's enough people who are now observant enough they're going to be looking for this, not just in Area 51. So,
yep.
Yeah. Should we leave it there?
Oh, we better. Yeah, we better.
Okay. Thanks for listening and watching. If you want more information, you can find it on our website
At nevertooserious.com.
And until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.